Oh, my mouse isn't working. Let's get a new battery. Oh, let's get a battery. Oh. Oh, I know. I thought it was a battery. Yeah, it's working now. I have to sometimes unplug and replug in my mouse for the desktop computer. It goes a bit funny sometimes. Sorry, I am here. I'm just filing down a sharp nail. It will just annoy me otherwise. Okay. I've shared that. Is my Skype off? Yes, it is. Is my Skype on? On here? Yes, it is. Good morning. Morning, Ramon. So, good morning and welcome to this Sunday stream. What else do I say? Welcome. Welcome. Hi. Hello. It's Sunday morning. So, I'm Rebekah Maroon, and I do these streams twice a week, on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. and on Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. and that's UK time. You can ask questions during this stream, and you ask them through Skype, either by calling in or by writing a message on Skype. And my Skype is Rebekah Maroon. But first of all, before we open for questions, I'll just sit for a little while and then I'll introduce this stream, what this is all about, and whatever I've titled this video, I will try to talk about. I'm doing a online, you can call it meditation or sitting session online through Google Hangouts, and that will be August the 12th. So it's Sunday, August the 12th, from 10 till 11. So if you want to sit in a group, sit with me, and enjoy that, then you can. Then you can. And you're free to ask questions during the hour. If questions come up during the hour. If you have a predetermined question from before that you bring into the session, I'd rather you ask it like during this live broadcast or on a one-to-one privately. But if questions arise spontaneously during that time we're together, then you can ask those questions, and I may or may not respond, but yeah. So that's August the 12th. And you can book on that via my website, rebekahmaroon.com. If you click on upcoming events, I believe, you will see the information there. But now we'll just sit together and see what happens, see what comes up. If you're feeling annoyed or irritable or impatient, when's it gonna start? When's it gonna start? That's okay. It's totally okay. Everything's okay to appear and come up. but it's just not true. Those thoughts are not true. They're true in that they're appearing, but they're not true. What they're saying isn't true. That isn't the reality of things. And what those thoughts will do is they'll seem to create a separation from the thoughts, from how you feel. So you're not really aware, consciously aware of how you feel underneath those thoughts of irritation, or when's it going to start, or what's it all about, or I'm confused, or whatever the thoughts are. They seem to cover up what's happening in the body. But that's okay too. That's okay too. But this will never take you away from what's happening. You want to run away from how you feel in the body. You want to run away from this direct experience of what's happening. You want to escape from your uncomfortability. You don't want to be aware of that. You don't want to let it up, let it come out. You want to stay with the mind's stories of what's happening. You want to stay with the mind's ideas of who you are and what is happening and how things are. But this message will not let you get away with that. This message will expose everything, will tear away everything until you are left. Or what is left is that uncomfortability that's been there for a long, long time, that's been covered up by stories of you. I think that's why I was drawn to this message, this radical neo-vita message. There's no one here. It was such a, when I heard it, it was so beautiful, so beautiful. But I think as well, now looking back on it, it was a way of me escaping human, a way of me escaping what was happening, how uncomfortable I was in being alive. It allowed me to escape all my conditioning, all my problems, all my suffering. And that's beautiful, it really is. It's pointing to this freedom beyond you, beyond your suffering, beyond your story. It's beautiful. That is freedom. But what will be left will be what you've been avoiding. What you've been running to spirituality to avoid will be left and exposed fully. And you can't cover that up with there's no one here. You can't hide from that. This is a full experience. It's a full-on experience, a full-on human experience, a full-on this. There is no one here. That's beautiful. But there is this, and this is what you are. All of it. All of it. And it's confusing to the mind. It wants the security of the understanding of non-duality, keeping it nice and clear, nice and straight in boxes, to control it and to know it and to have it and to feel safe and protected in this knowledge. But the speaker's job is to shake that up, to not allow anything to stick like that, to uproot this separation. So I've called this dream Get Off the U-Train. Get off the U-Train. What does I mean by that? It's pointing to that freedom, to that full stop, to that rest place, which is not in that U story. It is not on that U train. And I know it sounds instructional, as if I'm instructing someone to get off the train. I know it sounds like that. But that is not at all what I'm saying. In language, it's instructional. And when that separation's there, it seems as if she's talking to me. I exist, and this is being spoken to me. So I understand that confusion and that misunderstanding of what's being spoken of. But that's irrelevant. I'm not speaking to you to try and convince you or try and teach you something. This has nothing to do with what you understand. This has gone beyond that. I'm not talking to try and be clear to you. That's why you have to resonate beyond the words and the meaning. If you're fighting and resisting the language, the words, then you're not understanding what's being spoken about. You're still living in thoughts, in concepts and ideas. You think you know something about this, and you're fighting to be right. You're fighting to uphold your position. So get off the U-train is not instructional. It's not talking to someone that has that, first of all, that exists and has that ability to do or not do something. Get off the U-train is a description. It's a pointing, but not a pointing to you, not a pointing to someone. But this is where the freedom lies. Not on that U-train. Not in that story of you. Not in the outcome for you. Not in the reality of you. That linear timeline of you. There's no freedom found in that. So that train will jog on, but it will move on. It will move on. While there's a human body, a form, that train has to be there. There has to be a train moving on, a seeming character and a train in time moving on. It seems that way. That's just the way it is. There can't be. Well, yeah, there can't be a human body without that train So while the body's there, while the human's alive, there will be a train, meaning there will be a perspective, a story of you. There'll be preferences, there'll be conditioning, there'll be your family, your way of being. That will continue because this train is here, it's operating, it's still moving, it's alive, the heart's still beating. There will be conditioning and ideas and perspectives and routines and habits and likes and dislikes and wants and not wants, and that's going to be how it is. Whereas before this change, that felt as if that was an actual entity here, that was the experiencer here having a life, that was me moving through time. And there was a belief accompanying that not consciously, but with that comes this feeling of, or this behavior pattern of seeking for fulfillment on that train. And so all these things that we get into is about you on that train, trying to direct that train to an end point, to a rest point, to find love, completion, wholeness. And what I'm pointing to is that rest, that love, that freedom is not on that U train. And you will never find freedom or rest or love on that U train. And this is the freedom. This is the freedom. That there is a freedom beyond that U train. But that energy is so tied up in that U train, so invested in that U train, that seems to be unpicked during these talks, during these meetings and retreats and satsangs. And life in general is unpicking that, loosening that identification in that train. It doesn't mean the train stops. It's just there's this shift from this identification, there's something that is identified or in that train, to that train flowing and moving naturally. And what's becoming clear in language for this brain is that due to that separation, being on that train for 38 years, I'm 38 on Tuesday, that train has become, or that body's become contorted due to having this identification in it. And when that collapse happened, that contortion is still in the body from being like that for 38 years or whatever, 35 years maybe, 30 years of being contracted. And so it seems to take time as that body or that train, like it's that collapse happens, and then but that position, I'll show you. I had an example. Sorry, let me just get this. a bit of a prop. I thought about it yesterday. Like, oh, this is a good example. Like, so this is Kamala's little toy. So this is a human, and it's been contorted with separation in it. And when that collapse seems to happen, the contortion is still there for a period, and it's slowly releasing back to freedom, back to the flow. So it was like this, and then it became like this, separate, and a sense of contortion happened through years of being identified, being a separate someone, trying to maneuver through life, trying to make it the way it needs it to be. And then when this shift seems to happen, this dropping or collapsing happens, this is now empty, but the shape of it is still contorted through habit, through patterns, through being in a separate society for so long. And then gradually look what happens. And this is, as the human comes back, the body comes back to being free. So it seems as if I've begun to talk about the collapse happening, so that emptiness of this happening, but then also this happening, of the human lining up with that collapse, that emptiness that's happened, the human releasing. And this, I feel, is the fullness part, the love part, the relaxing of that human. And some say it happens before, some say it happens, I don't know, after. But for me, it's happened after this relaxing of the human. It's understanding more and more of the human. This free flowingness of the human. Some call it the integration, I've heard as well. And I'm more open to that now. Before, when I was really into Naya Advaita, I wouldn't even listen to people that talked about that stuff. I don't think so. There's no one there. No more story. No, I'm done now. That's it. But actually now I can respect these. Even like, I think ancient times, they would speak about it differently to how Naya Advaita, they talk about these things. They have names for them even. I don't know much about that, actually. But I can really respect these speakers now who actually don't just speak about there's no one there, but include the human as well. It's so important that this is whole. That this is whole. It's empty and full. It's impossible for the mind to hold that. That's why it resists that. Because it isn't about the mind. We're so used to the mind being in charge. So what you long for is the freedom. And the freedom is right here. The freedom is right here. It's not in anything. It's not in the words I'm speaking. It's not in anything. That's why these talks can keep happening. Years and years of talks and retreat, because it's always this. This doesn't go anywhere. This is always the case. This is always the reality. And in this, life seems to appear. In this, the human seems to play out. This is what I love. This is my heart. This is freedom. This is freedom. This was longed for, longed for. This rest. This rest. This is your home. But it became so uncomfortable. Okay, so you can ask questions now. Nice example, Ramon says. Thank you, Ramon. Whenever I speak, it is impossible not to use I. Yeah. So that's the way the language is. It's that's the way it is. We have to refer to a subject, and that isn't. There's no problem with that. That's language. That's the way we communicate. I think invented sound words to communicate about things that appear. I think in some tribe, I saw a YouTube, Facebook video a year or so ago about some tribes in, I think it was like South America or something, and they don't use words. They whistled or something. Yeah, they whistled or something, or made sounds to communicate about the environment. But yeah, we use. I think everyone used to use sounds at one point in history, but then obviously language developed. Articulating words developed, and we created alphabets and etc. So yeah, that's the way we currently speak with language, and that means referring to this body and saying I, and that body and saying you. But that then became an actuality. Actually, that word and sound essentially became an actual position, an actual contraction here, like a solid position began to happen, where it just the label of or sound of I became a reality, a sense of a reality in here. So it isn't about changing the language, not using the I or you anymore. It's this unpicking of that contraction that happened. That these words don't mean anything, and they never really have. And it's so obvious that language was a big part of that construction. Using abstract things, abstract language, to talk about things that were appearing. Like it's like two things. So that there's this glass, and then there's an abstract idea of that thing, glass, and we then try and match that abstraction and say that abstraction, that thought, that picture is actually what this is, and we don't see this. It's two separate things. This is an abstract thought. That isn't what this is. This is this, and then the thoughts and the naming began, which was useful, but then it became a reality. We couldn't separate between that and this. It became, that's what this is, and we began to, this sense of I also happened like that. That sense of describing something about this human became an actual reality. When this whole picture of I, who I am, began, this whole story of me in the head as thoughts and pictures became a reality. Because this body has no anything. It only has things in thoughts. It only has description in thoughts of it being black and a female, and all these different things are only thoughts, ideas. But it became a reality. It described as someone here. It's not about getting rid of language. Language is now here. It's what we use. And that isn't the problem, language. That isn't the problem. It's that which is identified with language as a reality, as a truth. It's living in it. Its whole reality is thought. Its whole reality is a dream. Yeah. Language isn't the problem, no. It's this energy of separation. That can only exist in thought in language. Like it's fuel for its story. Thank you, Ramon. Oh, he hasn't finished. My problem was that language is so nonsensical. Yeah. Yeah. It's just an abstraction. But it's useful. I agree, it is useful. It has to be used to communicate. Yeah. Although we also communicate in other ways too, but yeah. I mean, what is this? What is this? We don't know. We don't know what it is. It just is. We don't know what it is. The brain has learned the name glass, and so we accept that and use it for its function, but we have no idea what any of this is. It just appears. It just is. What is this? This is life. Miraculous. That is happening. It's appearing. Okay. Oh, it's beautiful. Really beautiful. I've really enjoyed this stream. So yeah, I'm back on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. So you can join me then. Okay. Bye.